ability to do so there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know you want to continue scrolling while watching us. So go over on Twitter and you can watch it streamed there live. But Meg, it's so awesome to have you on. And to be honest, when I started my journey, like posting different stuff and whatnot, you were like one of the first accounts that I saw. And I was like, wow, she delivers the message so perfectly. And I love it so much. So that's awesome to virtually meet you. And just excited to have you on. So I know that you do a little bit of kind of some type of networking that's related with kind of America First policies, if you would say so. You mind kind of telling us a little bit about what you do and the work that you do there?
So it's been an amazing part of my journey of waking up. And essentially what I do is I help people vote with their dollars and support an American-made company instead of shopping with the big corporate conglomerates that are doing nothing but pushing ESG, they're pushing DEI, they're pushing these agendas on our kids. They're taking our hard-earned money, and if you guys haven't looked into this, it's definitely something you should, and funding a lot of the things that we oppose, right? Like every time you shop with Grove Collaborative, they're taking 10% of those profits and they're funding Planned Parenthood of New England, right? So as a conservative, I don't want to fund these things.
Hey, Gentry.
Hey.
Sorry.
Hello.
I'm super passionate about helping people do that, and it's an amazing journey. And it kind of fits, right? It just fits with what I do. It fits with my values. I love it.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Sorry, to the live.
Yeah, I was going to say welcome. So anyone who doesn't know us, maybe they're seeing us for the first time. My name is Fabian. We have David and Gentry as well. We are from Breakaway USA, and I meant to stream from that account, so I apologize. I actually went from mine, but we are essentially trying to awaken people to what's happening in our culture, in our traditions, and we're helping people arm themselves with the tools to fight back. So not only understand what's happening and why it's happening, but also how to fight it, not only maybe out in the open being an activist, but in your everyday lives and in every conversation you have with other people. So if you're interested in learning more, we're at breakaway_USA on all socials. So that's what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, I want to keep calling you Freedom Chronicles, but now I know your name, Meg. But Meg, I think what you do is so important, because I remember like a few months ago when there was an overwhelming amount of, I hate to use that word anymore, but woke stuff in your face from all these big companies. And then when you dig deeper into it, you understood really, you kind of followed the money and you realized why there's such big influence. And then I think people really woke up to the idea that like, holy crap, my money is going towards all of this stuff, the ability to push all of this stuff. So when I learned about what you were doing, it's so cool. And I think Public Square is the name of that company too, right? Where they offer alternatives, American made stuff and all that stuff. So cool what you do, honestly. I forgot the question that I was.
By the way, Smith just sent me a text before we started, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna have Meg on." She goes, I'll be watching." She says you get pretty riled up, and I said, "I love that," because so do I. So I was hoping to see something fun tonight.
I don't go live. One of my downfalls is like, I'm good at making reels because I can just make it and post it later, and then going live, I'm like, because it's Instagram, you have to censor yourself in some sort of way if you want to keep your account. And I hate that I can't just go and spew everything I want.
Mm-hmm.
That is
yeah, we're all under that censorship bus right now.
Yeah, there's like a very small lane that you can go in, and if you kind of like go outside, you'll get on my account, like you get a notice whenever you follow me. It says, "Are you sure you want to follow Gentry? He posts fake news." And so but there's this really small thing where you have to like rebrand certain words and like imply a lot of stuff. You can't just come out and say it. So
yeah.
Actually, on an account. This is my original account that I came to Instagram with a little over 2 years ago.
Wow.
And my original brand, if you will, was actually medical freedom. It was waking people up to the dangers of vaccines. And then COVID came along, and anytime you mentioned the word vaccine, bam.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I was
We call them the ouchie Faucis.
times.
Yeah, we call them the ouchie Faucis.
Ouchies. I didn't know that about you, honestly, that you kind of came into this from the medical field. Is that like during COVID, essentially, when you started to kind of come out about all of this?
So when I got pregnant with my first biological child, I have 4. One of them is bonus son. He just walked by. But my first biological child, like, hey, I'm going to need you to check out well baby visits. And me, so fun fact, not a lot of people know because I don't talk about it a lot. I am 100% part of the break or the walk away movement. So I 100% an indoctrinated liberal public education child.
Wow.
I women's right to have an abortion and climate change and races, like the whole 9 yards, because that's what we were taught. And so when he mentioned this to me, I was like, what do you mean? Are you one of those people? Like, are you one of those anti-vaxxers? Like, I had no idea. And so I had originally joined this huge, massive group on Facebook that was called Stop Mandatory Vaccinations. It's no longer a thing. And I started super simple on my journey. I was like, okay, here, right? The Hep B, vitamin K is really first, but then Hep B is the first one they actually give you. So I went to the excipients list on the CDC website, and I was like, okay, there's a bunch of ingredients here. I'm going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it. And I went and Googled it. And it's like, all of them are like carcinogenic, causes cancer, causes gene mutations, X, Y, Z. And I was like, whoa, like, whoa. And that really was my first rabbit hole, like just exploring that. I have 4 children and none of them have been poked. I think my bonus son maybe had his up until 6 months old. My husband had the MMR when he was 2, and that was it. He was born in France.
Wow.
Didn't do any of that. So we are we have not had those in a very long time, and my kids have
Wow.
never.
So you guys are all
That's incredible.
natural.
Oh, natural. There's
Wrong. Like, I'm really against big pharma in a lot of ways, but I do also recognize there is a place for medicine.
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, modern medicine gave us the world that we have now. And I feel like once you introduce all this money and greed into that sphere, it turned evil. And it's so sad that every single thing that humans attempt to do starts off as a really good, like, peaceful thing. And then once you get money involved, you get the narcissists and the nefarious players to come in and say, how can I utilize this for my profit? And that's when it stopped being healthcare and their care. That's when it stopped being all the good foods that we had to eat. And now we have Bill Gates apples. So it's just sad.
It's kind of, cool that I hate to use the word cool, honestly, but it's cool that you got to the point of where you're at because of waking up from the medicine stuff. Like, you understood, you got to like the woke stuff that's happening behind the companies and whatnot. How did you get indoctrinated, first of all, into like the leftist ideology, really? I mean,
So,
people don't really talk about that, I feel like, much.
That's what they've always taught in school. It was different a long time ago when my mom was in school in the 50s, 60s. It was a lot different back then. I mean, look at gym class, for example. But I mean, what percentage, this is something I've never looked at, but I know I'm going to assume what the ratio is. Like, what percent of teachers are liberals?
Oh, I think it's actually like 92% now.
Exactly. And so you have to recognize that what you're putting your children around is what they're learning. Okay. So in school, right, they don't ask for healthy debates anymore. It's not like, what's your opinion? Oh, a different opinion, let's hear hers. It's like, wow, you're an evil person because you don't think that a mom should be able to murder her baby in the womb. You're evil, you're anti-woman. And so, and this is like essentially the same thing that's happening with parents right now in the alphabet soup agenda. They don't want to be told, therefore they're not saying anything. They're so scared of being labeled something. And that's what kids in school do. I mean, there are obviously some of us that come out of it and now we're like, okay, we're gonna challenge authority every time we can. But how many people don't do that?
Right. Yeah. I remember seeing a crazy statistic where it was like, out of like 13 professors or something like that, just one of them is conservative. And that's crazy if you think about it. And I graduated college literally a year ago, and it's a pretty conservative school. It was a military school, or it's not military school, but it is a military school. I just wasn't in a part of it, but it was filled with these liberal activist professors, not just like these professors with a liberal ideology. Oh, they might vote Democrat or whatever. They had an agenda through all their teachings, and they were just shoving it down your throat. And you're absolutely right. I understand now why so many people, get indulged in that ideology.
Yeah, and this was the plan the entire time. If you listen to people like Antonio Gramsci, who I reference a lot, he literally says exactly what's happening. Socialism is precisely the religion that must replace Christianity. We'll start in the schools, in the education systems, and we'll make it to the family. And once we can break all that down, guess what? People have nothing to stand for. They have no culture. They have no norms. They have a religion. What do you introduce? Communism. So I wish, and I remember when I was little and I had incredible teachers, like people who I still follow on Facebook that wish me happy birthday every year. And I couldn't imagine what it would be like going to school now. I feel bad for these kids. I really feel bad.
My son, my bonus son did go to public school. My other three are homeschooled. He left for summer break with a female teacher and came back. I'm like, how confusing is that to kids? Right? Like they have a race walk out front. They have the BLM flag flying, and it's just like nothing. They have the trans flags in the classroom, no American flags, no nothing.
It's crazy. Wow. I moved to America and I went straight to third grade and didn't know a single word besides hi and bathroom. And I always think about imagine how many people are like that today, and they're like trying to learn pronouns, and here's people identifying as pronouns and these different flags and stuff like that. It must be so confusing.
That's part of the agenda, though, is like you're confused enough, you no longer question anything, you just go along with it.
Is that because you think that they're so confused, they're just trying to like grasp at whatever power authority is saying, because like there's no semblance of normal?
Kind of. Here's the thing. If you're confused, you're trying to learn something, you're trying to learn how to do a podcast, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, and you're so confused, you go look to the people of authority, right, that know what you're doing, and you listen to them, right? It's the same thing in school. Kids are so confused. They're no longer focusing on curriculums. We're hyper focused on sexualizing children and having inappropriate conversation of sexual deviance than they are about teaching them math or how to pronounce the right words.
Yeah. There's something that I would recommend to everyone listening. Once you're done listening to us, go and Google. It's called Drag Queen Story Hour by Lil Miss Hot Mess. This is an actual scientific paper, and it's scientific because they allowed it to be entered into a journal. And it's Lil Miss Hot Mess is a trans and wrote the book on how to do these things. It's all meant to get your children to stray away from their teacher, because the teacher is very authoritative, very strict, and to go to the fun drag queen who lives queerly. They are literally there to try to suck their children out of liking any authority and into this queer way of living life. And it's exactly what they say. So the problem with leftists, not the problem, but the good thing that we have is that they are stupid enough to write everything that they think and then get it entered into journals so we can literally read their playbook. It just takes time, effort, and a willingness to find it online.
Wow. With all this stuff happening in the schools, besides the obvious answer of homeschooling the kids and not maybe letting them go to public schools, what do you guys think we could do to maybe like change the culture of it or stop this stuff? Because it's crazy what they're doing to the kids. And I've listened a lot to Yuri Bezmenov. He's right on this. If you want to demoralize kids or just a society, it just takes one generation. So 10, 15 years, maybe 2 generations, right? It means we have to do something these next 10, 15 years if we wanted to see stop. So what do you guys think?
Well, someone said show up at school board meetings, which I think is one of the most important things you can do as a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I think that we have to figure out how to pass school choice.
Yeah.
Because what that does is it'll kind of use the laws of supply and demand, and then there's going to be so much demand for these good schools, and they're going to try to figure out why. And it's because the teachers are teaching the subjects, not teaching an ideology. And I think it's just going to raise the bar for really everyone. I mean, I'm also a big proponent of homeschooling because I was homeschooled. My parents didn't want me to be indoctrinated with evolution and then sex ed back in the day. And it's like sex ed was like tame back in the day. I'm really, really thankful that my parents did that. But yeah, I think school choice, to be honest. What do you guys think?
I agree with both of those topics. And that, like, I really, really want to pound that into the heads of people that do not have children or people that do homeschool. You still need to be, and you shouldn't be involved with school board. I am. When they incorporated masks, right? I had a school board meeting all by myself, and I was like, these kids can't have masks. They cannot have masks. I argued, and they shut me down, and I was like, you know what? I'll be back with more people. And I showed up to the next school board meeting, not knowing anyone in this town with 70.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah. That's incredible.
What about you, Ian?
I was talking to Kate Hudson, who's also part of Breakaway USA. She runs education_Veritas, and she exposes school districts and school boards and funding. And what she was talking about was that first, the accreditation associations that accredit these schools, that is where the real plague is at, because they essentially get to say whether or not you are qualified to be a school, and their funding comes from all the usual suspects. So, in addition to that, the people who make decisions, they're not elected by the public. They're elected by people inside of these organizations. So it's not like the public has a say in who's running these organizations that are funding these schools, that are literally giving them the curriculum. A lot of schools aren't big enough to have a curriculum themselves. They buy it from people. And the people that write it are clearly leftists. So what do you do if you're a teacher and you're presented with this curriculum and say, you have to teach this or else you're going to get fired? That's a really hairy place to be.
It is. That's what happened over the entirety of COVID, right? Is people didn't want to speak up and they didn't want to defend their God-given rights because they didn't want to lose their job. And that's a hard place to be. It is, because you're like, okay, I can't feed my kids if I don't have a job. But where do your values lie?
Mm-hmm.
Where do they lie?
They weaponize your paycheck. That's what they do.
So
it's just like in HR.
When did the government think that it was okay to commandeer people's kids? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, when was it? In the last 10 years? Was it in the last 3 years? Was it in the last 25 years? Like, when did that shift happen?
Communists have been doing this. That's been their goal. Even in Hungary, you look at what happened in Hungary, where they specifically brought in sex education, sex into the schools to confuse children. That was back in the 50s. So this is not something new. You have people like Paulo Freire, who's a Marxist Brazilian philosopher, whatever you want to call him, of education, who said all this stuff. And this has been the game plan, and they do it over and over and over again. Thankfully, we have history to look back on and say, no, this is stupid. Like, we know what's going to happen because it's happened in the past.
Yeah, it's been the Marxist communist plan all along, infiltrate the education, indoctrinate them, and you can get it done. So I think we just lost Gentry.
Yeah,
but
he'll be back.
Okay. So when we were talking, Meg, before, when we were planning this whole live and everything like that, obviously one of the biggest news stories right now is this whole Epstein documents that were released. And you told me, you're like, I'd love to talk about it. I might have a little different opinion or stuff like that. So I'd love to hear. But before we do, I was reading a headline earlier today from the Daily Mail. It's maybe an hour ago, that Bill Clinton marched into Vanity Fair's office and threatened staff not to write about Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Roberts, claims in latest bombshell court document. So there's that, which is a whole interesting aspect on its own. But what is your thoughts about the Epstein documents? And then we can get into this Vanity Fair story.
Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
I cannot see Bill Clinton walking in a Vanity Fair. That man can hardly walk 3 feet in front of him. But, it's going to piss some people off. It's 100% a distraction. Everything that is happening right now is a distraction. And this is conspiracy theory, right? No, I don't have any proof it's a distraction because I don't know what they're distracting us from right now, but it will come out very soon. Not everything, 99% of what has come out as of yesterday, I haven't seen any new releases or anything today, has been things we already knew. All of it. There is no flight log being released. There's no nothing. It's literally just some names, and a majority of them, no one has any clue who they are. Okay, it's just the unsealed court. What is it called?
Deposition.
Deposition. With and again here, I'm gonna get some hate for this. It's hearsay, right? It's like somebody said it. Okay. And so I see a lot of people within our community running with this. Clinton is, I have it pulled up on my computer. If you guys have the document, go to the find words on page and you can search certain words and just go find them. Okay. Clinton is mentioned 73 times in this document. That is a lot. Okay. But in no way do I think he's innocent. This man is disgusting. He's grotesque. Okay. But there's nothing is happening because of what's been said in these documents. It is literally to get people's attention on one thing. We already knew he was on there, right? But it's also the same thing the media is doing with the, Trump was mentioned 3 times, even though it says he was not there and nobody performed sexual acts on him, X, Y, and Z. Like, everybody's just taking it and running with it. I'm like, you guys have to like use some discernment. I'm getting because as of right now, I mean, the highlight of that entire thing was somebody claiming that Stephen Hawking likes watching naked solve equations on a chalkboard that is too tall. Okay, like that is the highlight of the whole thing as of right now. And there's gonna be more released, and I get that, but that adds to my speculation that it's a distraction. Why are they doing this over a whole entire month?
Here's my theory on it, and I may be wrong, I may be right. Who knows? But all the people that were in this Epstein stuff, this is what, last 20 years or so. If we're talking about politicians, there's some people on the list who are already dead, or who have resigned. A lot of people have been resigning lately. A lot of people. They just busted a brothel right in DC yesterday. Right, a massive brothel with a bunch of prostitutes and stuff like that. So Epstein wasn't the only one. He was the biggest one during his time, probably, unless there's someone else that we don't even know. But they cloned that guy. There's definitely other Epsteins. We see brothels, like I said, just yesterday got caught. So if I'm these globalist, hegemonic demons, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? Well, all these guys are old. Okay, let this information come out because it shows the people that now we have blackmailed since then. What will happen if they ever step out of line? Maybe they don't care about the politicians or those people anymore because they have new people.
Yeah. It's a classic honeypot operation, it seems like, to be honest. You know, they collect a bunch of dirt on very powerful individuals that then they can use this blackmail information to influence certain things, policies, decisions, whatever you want, honestly. So yeah, no, Meg, I really like your take on it. Gentry, what about you? Oh,
So my friend Evan Kilgore put up a tweet today
Gentry, you're breaking up.
suggesting that, am I breaking up?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
no.
Not?
Gentry lives in the North Pole.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, no.
I live in the Great White North. Hello, can you hear me? Move on.
Yeah, no, my take on it was the same thing, that it seems like it's a big distraction of things. And then I heard Alina Habba say this actually about it, that like you said, it's a bunch of hearsay stuff. Alina Habba is Trump's lawyer, and she said that if you're gonna run with these stuff and say that all these people that were named in there are somehow guilty, then anytime that the Democrats file these things against Trump, then you're going to have to run with the same idea and say that he's guilty. It's kind of like you have to be both. You have to be equal to this. They're innocent until they're proven guilty. Need some hardcore evidence. I'm not like protecting any of these people. Like you're saying, these people are gross, disgusting people. And the things that they're being alleged of doing is horrible, but it needs to be proven. And I think that the people that are more happier than the conservatives were before the documents came out was the legacy media, because they have the best headline they have right now. Trump named in Epstein documents. People aren't digging into it and seeing that he's like fully exonerated in these documents. They just got their sweet headline that they wanted to. So I don't know. It's a distraction and a powerful tool, it seems like.
Well, let's look at it. Okay, so it would take a whole lot to pick apart this whole conspiracy of what is happening and what has happened and what is going to happen. Okay, in my opinion, Epstein is a vile person, but I think he was just the face of this. He was just the face of this, and I think maybe, now this is a guess, but maybe Ghislaine Maxwell stepped out of line with something and they're making an example of her, right? What happens if you tattle? This is what happens when you go against and do something you're not supposed to. But people are like, where's the flight log, the flight log? Okay, let's focus on the flight log, right? You are never, ever in your lifetime or anybody else's lifetime going to know who was at that island from start to finish. You think they all got on Jeffrey Epstein's jet to fly there? You're nuts. They took planes to Haiti and they took boats over, and then there's a whole conspiracy with the Terramar project and submarines, and like you're not going to know. And I think this is all a ploy to make conservatives and Republicans happy. Oh, we're winning. We're winning. I don't think we're winning anything with these being unsealed. Now, don't get me wrong. People always take shit out of context. I don't think the court documents ever should have been sealed. I don't think any court documents should be sealed ever. But I don't think we're winning how a lot of people think we're winning.
Yeah, that's great points right there, honestly. Shouldn't be
the next battle I see is apparently this has been being talked about a lot right now. Apparently, there's pictures of it as well. That when they raided his island, they got tons of DVDs, tons of tapes that have the actual video, like the stuff that it actually matters.
And the FBI lost them all.
That's crazy.
How did-
That's crazy.
Conveniently.
So why do you guys think that Bill Clinton like marched into Vanity Affairs? Even though Meg said that he couldn't even walk, so I kind of agree with you. But maybe Hillary kind of like, rolled him in there essentially, and that's what they mean by marched into Vanity Affairs.
Maybe.
Was marched in.
Was marched in.
Just for this. Do you see this? Do you see it?
The clip.
Oh my God.
Clinton vile people. They are. I don't know if I don't think he marched. I just don't. It's hard to believe because every time we've seen him on camera, like over the last few years, he can hardly walk. He's like Biden 2.0. Like, form a sentence. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, grow your vegetables. Can we stop selecting them, please? Can you?
Yeah, the other part of me thinks that it could be a ploy because they knew something was coming out. Make him look frail. Make him look, oh, well, he's old now. He's about to die. So just leave him alone.
Possibly.
I mean, if they can make Biden walk, if they can get him to last 10 minutes at a press conference, Clinton has a better shot.
Nah, exactly. I wonder how all of this is going to impact the election, because it's like we're in election year now, so it's like the beginning of it only, and I'm wondering like what's going to come out. Is there going to be a big October surprise with the actual logs? Even though I agree with you, Meg, I don't think we're ever going to know exactly who is on the island. I think that they're just keeping that to themselves. But I always wonder, like, what is this going to do to our elections? How is this going to impact our elections?
don't know until what they decide to release.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the one thing I do know that's going to come out of this is that it's going to make people distrust government even that much more. To have the people that are supposed to be, who are the most powerful people, who are supposed to be working for the public, do the exact opposite and only work for themselves. That in combination with X, I think people are just massively aware of stuff they've never been aware of or didn't even want to think that was true before. But sadly, it is, that we live in a world that is basically run by narcissistic people that have devious intentions and are malefactors. And I think people understand that now. So I think it's going to be like, in wrestling, just to use a wrestling term, in WWE, when people found out that it was that people knew, that the wrestlers knew who was going to win, they became what are called smart marks. So a mark is someone who you play a ploy on. And now they're smart marks where you can't get anything past them. And it's beautiful to see people waking up like that because of things like X, that allows this information to be out that would never have gotten out before.
I agree with you, Fabian. It's so important that we have these tools now to be able to communicate, because even like posting stuff on YouTube, I was watching Patrick Bet-David's live today, and it was getting censored just because they were talking about Epstein stuff. And it's so important that we have tools like Twitter now, or X. Sorry, I can't get over Twitter. It's always gonna be Twitter in my head, but X is so important now, and I love what Elon Musk is doing in there. But before we got on this live, I was watching a little bit of Tim Cass as well, and he was talking about like there's just some things that actually break the law that you can't even have on the freest speech platform right now, which is X. And they understand that, because then at the end of the day, they can get in trouble. But at least X is doing the right thing by allowing certain rhetoric to be there, especially this discourse about such important stuff. So vital for what we're doing.
I posted a video on TikTok yesterday, same one I posted on Instagram, about, it was Melinda Gates talking about the relationship of Bill Gates and Epstein. And I'm surprised the stream didn't crash as soon as I said those words. But it literally got 0 views in 24 hours. 0. Not even a single view on TikTok, which is incredible. Incredible.
Every time I post on TikTok, I get a community standard violation every time.
That's you can't post on there about gender ideology stuff. You can't post it there about like critical race theory.
Dude,
Nothing like that.
I created video of Klaus Schwab's like remaking Christmas songs, and they took it down for deception.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. They've taken down my videos for deception as well, because I don't know if you guys remember, I'm sure you guys all remember, but when the whole White House cocaine thing happened, I made like a funny video about like, oh, whose is it? And I made like a picture of Jean-Pierre, whatever her name is. Green Jean-Pierre. And I put a little bit, I went on Snapchat, did a little bit of white stuff under her nose, and put that on there as one of the suspects behind the cocaine, I call it. And they took it down for deception. I thought it was funny. A lot of people thought it was funny, but yeah, they can't handle satire. They can't handle challenging their ideology. And it's scary when you know who's behind it as well, and what kind of content they pump out through the algorithms.
Series of events, okay? They introduced COVID, right? Stay 6 feet apart, social distance, don't visit your family members, don't go kill your grandma, don't do this, don't do that. And so we became a world that utilizes the internet. Okay, whether like it or not, we probably all use the internet more now than we did before. And now they're censoring the internet because they've ripped personal connection apart. They know it's much harder to go find your local peeps that are like-minded, that can stand up and do something together. And so now they just put us in these little pods, and they're like, okay, you're going to stay over here and we're going to censor you here. And oh, you can't say that.
Yeah. And that's why they hate what Elon Musk is doing with Starlink, because the only way to shut it down is there's no subvert way to doing it. They would have to do it overtly, and the entire population of the world would know that they're doing it. And if this is the United States government doing it, then they're no better than China, because that's exactly what they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. And I saw you tag a comment in there that, you know, I always forget that, but you have literally right now actively the federal government going like, I would say persecuting Elon Musk. And you have to wonder why. Why are they going after the guy that essentially just bought this free speech platform? And they're trying to find any way. They're like throwing darts at the wall like they're doing with Trump, essentially trying to find what will stick essentially and what will end. And it's scary. You have to think, why is the federal government, I know why, but why is the federal government doing this? It's crazy.
It's so scary to me that like it is right in your face and there's just people that refuse to acknowledge it.
Yeah. And you know, what's sad about it is they're using your tax dollars to sue Elon Musk. So they use your tax dollars to pay for the Department of Justice salaries to go persecute people like Elon Musk who are trying to do good for the people. And you know, whether or not whatever you think about Elon Musk, or if you like him or not, the acts that he's taken so far have benefited humans and humanity all over the world. So that's the sad part, is using our hard-earned money to go and then to prosecute people who are trying to help us.
Yeah, yeah. And it's again, it's just wild that you literally have actively, they're not even hiding it, the fact that you have the Biden administration kind of coordinating with different district attorneys throughout the country and going after him. It's mind blowing, honestly. The guy that and like, look, you even have like the woke meter or whatever it's called, giving him such a low rating or whatever, or ESG rating, giving him such a low rating, but giving tobacco companies, they're great, they're fantastic to our environment. It's just wild. But
And oil companies.
we can talk and talk and talk. So Meg, we went 10 minutes over what we promised you. So
somebody else on, I've got plenty of time.
No, we usually stick to about 30-minute live, but yeah, like I said, there's just so much we can talk about. But is there anything else we want to say before we wrap this up, y'all?
I would definitely say, guys, I appreciate you taking your the time you have in the day. I know everyone works hard, especially in these times. It's hard to make ends meet. We appreciate you being here with us. We are Breakaway USA. We're trying to just spread this kind of knowledge to people who may not have heard it. We do the due diligence of finding this stuff, just like you do, and we bring it to people. So Breakaway_USA if you guys want to check us out. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Meg. Freedom Chronicles.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. We got to definitely host you on here as much as we can, because you definitely come with the heat. I love your takes on things. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good
See
night.
you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, y'all, for tuning in.